Hi, welcome back. I've got a welding project this week. I've been instructed to improve the parasol stand that we currently have. That was thrown together very quickly many years ago. It's unstable, basically. If the wind blows, the parasol either gets pulled out or it falls over. So I've quickly sketched up this. Idea being we've got a longer tube for the parasol to go in, 3 arms with little brick cradles in. So that you can remove the bricks and you can move it around easily, put the bricks back in and weigh it back down again. This center section is going to be this bit of old exhaust pipe. Unfortunately not quite long enough, so I'm going to have to fit a adapter on the end just to lengthen it sufficiently so it's the same length as the larger piece of stainless tube I've got there, which will form the outer diameter. You can sort of see here. Then the base and the top of that are going to be made out of this, which is I think some sort of cap off, something like a milk tanker or something. Anyway, I managed to separate it. Turns out it's got a giant C-clip, which was round that. Took me a little while to work that one out. I've already had this on the lathe and skimmed the back off. This had little hook type flanges on where it screwed on, I assume, and then this thing had a great big seal in it. Anyway, bored out a hole to begin with. That needs to be bigger. That needs to be the same size as this tube. This face needs to be a good fit for that, so that's going to slot into here. That's going to be the foot. All of this framework, where are we? Yep. All this framework is going to attach to that foot, and then at the top, I'm going to basically just screw into the stainless from the frame. I've cut up a load of aluminium. I'll get onto welding that shortly, but I'm going to get this turned and that turned to fit in the top over there. All right, now it turns out that this will not fit. I can't grab it anywhere sensible. As you can see, that's not suitable for 3-jawing. I don't have a faceplate. What I do have, though, is a boring head on the mill. So I'm going to slap that on the table and tickle the inside of that with the boring head. Right, we should be getting close. I've got 128.8. That seems pretty close. I'm going to try that now. Right, wound the head up out of the way and just reduce that so I can get my tube. Just goes in. Oh, that feels better. Oh, it's going in. Yes. Perfect. Nice, tight, snug fit. Brilliant. Next. That's it. Right, now I need it. At this point I decided to cut the audio because the welding caused a lot of unpleasant noises on the sound. I think it's the high voltage start on the welder creates a lot of crackling. You can see in some of the shots the arc jumping around. So this is one of the legs that I'm welding up here. This is my first time welding aluminium in anger. I've had a bit of a play in the past, but this is my first proper project doing it, so it was an interesting experience. This is one of the brick cradles. Just welding that up. This is much thinner material, so this took a little bit of getting used to. Setting up the welder. As you can see, there's some black sooty deposits. I think that's probably because of the material wasn't cleaned up properly. It's anodized, and I used the cleaning action on the welder to get it to weld. What I really should have done was cleaned it up properly, so there wasn't much of the anodized left. This is now fitting the legs to the base. Quite a hunk of aluminium, so it took a fair bit more current than certainly than the brick cradles. These were some of the less pretty welds, but it's it's a tricky job welding aluminium, and I wasn't using the foot pedal for this. It's just using the presettings on the welder. So I had a pulse setup. Can't remember the exact settings, but I think for doing this we were sort of 100 or so amps base current, and then 140 amps, something like that for the pulse. Probably about 30% AC balance for the cleaning. The tube, and then I'd said previously that I wanted to screw the uprights to the top, but there wasn't enough material in the aluminium part to sort of screw through the stainless tube too, so I decided in the end to weld a strip around the perimeter, and actually that turned out okay in the end. Just had to squeeze it around a bit with a big G-clamp and weld it up and seamed around the top. Now this is just cutting out the straight aluminium pieces for the uprights. 30 degrees, set the bandsaw to 30 degrees, and then as you can see they're mostly fitted here. I forgot to film a whole lot of this, but you get the idea. It's probably more than long enough already. I used some toolmaker's clamps actually to hold various things in place. I did have some G-clamps, but actually the toolmaker's clamps I found better to use, although I am lacking in the clamp department. I've got a couple of big ones, a couple of small, you can see a small red G-clamp there, and a couple of toolmaker's clamps. So got some plans to perhaps make up a nice corner welding jig for doing this kind of job, where especially the brick cradles, where you've got three pieces that you want to all hold at the same time and weld together. Trying to do that was a bit fiddly on these. It'd be nice to have a tool that made it a bit quicker. Then I needed to make the flange for the stainless tube that goes down the centre. I was originally hoping to push fit the stainless tube into the aluminium piece at the top, but there just wasn't enough meat, so ended up making a flange out of stainless steel, and trepanned it to make the hole on the lathe. I tacked it on and then got a bit carried away and seam welded it all the way around, which I really shouldn't have done, because it went a little bit wibbly wobbly. However, it did pull in the end, as you'll see in a moment. You can see it lifting up at the corner. So I drilled and tapped the top of the tube. Fitted a load of screws and that pulled it in quite nicely. And then finally just welded in a couple of or 4 stainless bolts at the bottom just to stop the tube flapping around. It was held pretty firmly at the top, but it obviously, you know, it would still be bendable. And then finally the actual wooden pole of the Parasol had a spacer ring on it just to make it fit the stainless tube a little bit better, the size of tube that I had, and that just needed moving up the pole a little bit because the new tube is obviously a lot deeper than the old one. There we are, moved up, screwed in, and then let's look at the final finished item with the bricks in position. You see the weld around the top there, it's not too bad, not quite stacking dimes yet, but it's I think for a first attempt it's alright. And where the brick cradle's welded on, not great, but functional. Quite pleased with the way it looks. Looks almost like a bit of a rocket part or something. And here's the final thing. Of course it rained as soon as I made it, but the sun's shined again since. And the real reason why I need this is because it's a tilting parasol, and when it's like that and the wind blows, it works so much better than the other one. Thanks for watching.